That way, Facebook and them don't yell at us.
Yeah, right.
Hi, Marianne.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good. So we're here for another round of live questions. See how long. See some people coming in. There were quite a few that were commenting that they would be joining us. So it may take a minute for them to join.
Get in line, huh?
Yeah, get in line, start asking questions. But we know that a common question everybody asks, like, what's the difference between somebody that's crossed over, and those that are earthbound, that you see?
Well, the ones that make the choice not to go into the light, that bright white light that they have when they die, those they lose the light, they're earthbound. Those are the ones that cause problems in people's houses, and those are the ones that I can see and talk to. Ones that went into the white light, and that's heaven or whatever you perceive that to be. I cannot see them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ones that have not gone in that I can see, talk to, make the white light for, watch them walk in, and your property will be clear.
Which helps, selling a house, staying healthy while you're in your own house.
Right. Right. Your kid's not afraid to go to bed or in bed with you every night at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
People need to listen to their kids. The kids are pretty good. Watch your pets too. Pets are usually right on, spot on too, with what they see or feel in the house. So you have a lot of different things you can pay attention to know if there's something in the house, whether you're aware of it or not. Now, if you live alone, you lose. But if you're living with somebody else or kids or pets, somebody's going to give you a hint something's going on.
Right, right. Now, so we have some people joining us. If you'd like to ask Marianne a question, feel free to type it in and she'll answer you live. We may even put your question up on the screen just so everybody can read exactly what your question is. And Marianne can see it because Marianne does not, I keep bumping my laptop. Marianne does not do computers whatsoever, so she won't touch them. That way she doesn't crash her husband's laptop that she's using.
Yeah, in the beginning, the guy from the Geek Squad and us were on a first name basis. Every time I thought I could do it, no. Sometimes, if I'm really lucky and I get a really brand new pencil with a big eraser on it, sometimes I can touch the key with the eraser. That gets old. It's too hard if you can't use all your fingers. And I'm no good with a pencil in each hand. So.
Right. Talk about having to be extra ambidextrous.
That's right.
To use it.
Doesn't work. Just doesn't work.
Right. Oh no.
So people are just waiting for everybody else to ask the first question.
I believe so. Now, how do you see the earthbounds? Do they look like the shadow people? Are they misty? I
have never seen a shadow person. When I see an earthbound spirit, I see them just like I see you. Hair color, eye color, the clothes that they have on, glasses, smoking a cigarette, pipe, or tobacco, or cigar. I do not see mists or shadows or shadow people or flashes of bolts of lightning. That is how some other people perceive or see them. I do not. Personally, that would make me crazy. I'd rather look at them than not. Now, I can tell if they're earthbound or not, because if I squint, I could still see through them. They're not solid like we are. But that's just years of practice, and they don't float around in the air. They walk on the ground just like everybody else.
Glowing breakaway,
Yeah.
That was like my dead people goals. I wanted the flowy, misty,
Well, some of the pictures, you can catch that. That's for sure. That's how the energy shows up on film. But no, that would, no, just, And I don't read lips, so if I don't hear them, I really don't know what they're saying either. Oh, there's your kitty behind you.
Yeah, he's got to come
You've
be
got to
for full
stay
attention.
right.
Oh, there we go. Hi, Sippy.
Nobody's being bold enough to ask me a question.
Hey guys, yes. So type in your question. Marianne will answer for you. It's a lot quicker than having to mail it in for her, and because right now the post system, and I think with all of the stuff going on politically, like packages are just taking forever to arrive anywhere. So get your question answered live.
Even priority packages are taking longer to get there. I swear I could drive some stuff faster than it is by the post office anymore.
So
So,
we have a question from Rhonda.
okay.
Hi, Marianne. I have a COVID question. Where are all the spirits downtown going when so many people aren't there?
Okay, great question. They're going home with people, or they're ending up in people's houses. It was a lot of them in houses when everything was closed down. But no, restaurants are open now and malls are open now. And so, they go back to that. Obviously, stadiums, no, because there's cardboard people sitting in the stands now. But they'll just go home with you. And if they need to go someplace where there's more energy, they'll buzz out. And then if they really like you and they want to stay with you, they'll just come back.
Well, that's kind of a good lead-in little side question. A lot of these paranormal shows and certain books will, make it look like or sound like ghosts are trapped to like that haunted house or, that abandoned building, and they're not really trapped, right?
Not at all. If you're going house hunting and you're looking at a house that hasn't had anybody living in it for 3 or more months, chances are there is absolutely no earthbound spirit in that house because they wouldn't be getting energy from anybody. Now, that doesn't mean when the previous owners left that they just didn't go to the neighbors in the back or on each side. And when you move in and you start bringing your furniture in, that they don't buzz back over. But no abandoned buildings. No, they don't. We're coming up to the ghost tours at the prison.
Mm-hmm.
Richland Prison, is that it? Where the Shawshank Redemption was filmed?
Mansfield?
Mansfield, right. Okay. I don't know if they're doing it this year, if they're having the ghost tours there or not this year. There'll be people in there overnight, and I have to laugh because I've done a number of shows from there. Nobody is in that prison. There's nobody there. It's empty. But on the other side of the prison is the brand new prison where they moved all the prisoners from to the new one, which is full of spirits. So every time they see a crowd or tour comes through the old prison, oh, then they buzz back over. But do they hang out in the prison? No. What good would it do? They wouldn't have energy at all.
Right. Oh, right. So Lisa Malloy, how old were you when you saw your first spirit and were you afraid?
No, I was not. And here's the thing. Kids are really good. Kids can see their guardian angels. Kids can see spirits that crossed over, spirits that haven't crossed over. So the little takeaway from that is pay attention to your children. When my grandparents came over from Italy, uh, I was the first grandchild, and when my mother went to have my sister, it wasn't a drive-through like it is now. A woman went to the hospital for a week. Husbands weren't allowed in the delivery room, and so on the way to the hospital, mom and dad dropped me off at my grandmother's house because she was going to watch me for that week, and I was, I'm 26 months older than my sister, so a little over 2. Now, Grandma had the ability that if some paisan or Goomba died in the old country, she would see them in a dream. And years ago, when people settled in the Cleveland area, there were pockets of Italian people, Polish people, Irish people in little communities. So Grandma would have a dream of whoever died. She'd get up, go across the street, and say, "Hey, Rose, your brother Luigi died last night."
Hmm.
So we jump on a cell phone now. Well, not me, but other people jump on a cell phone now and call whoever it is in whatever country and tell them who died. Back then, it could be 6 or 7 weeks before somebody here knew somebody died in the old country. They'd lay him out in the parlor and they'd send a picture and you knew Luigi was dead. So the very first morning I'm there at Grandma's house, I get up, she fed me breakfast, and she had a sunroom off of her living room, and she sent me there to play. And there was a man there, and I'm talking to this man, and my grandmother comes and she hears me. They spoke no English at that time.
Okay.
The words they spoke, you really couldn't understand what they were saying. And so we went ahead, and so she's standing in the doorway and she hears me talking. And she says, "Marianne, who are you talking to?" And I told her. And she said, "Where is he?" And I pointed to like a corner of the wall. So she said, "Ask him this, ask him this, ask him this." And he gave me the answers. There's no way I would be able to know that stuff. But she was smart. She figured that I overheard her telling my grandfather who she had the dream about. Kids hear all kinds of stuff that they shouldn't hear. So
Right.
that's why she asked all those questions. And she realized that I could see and talk to them. And I guess because I was the first grandchild, they actually had pictures of me running around at a party when I was 8 months old. I guess I talked really fast and everything. And so she knew that I was actually seeing something. So that's when she started taking me to funerals when I was 4, because everybody attends their funerals. And I was never afraid. I mean, you look in the casket, and yeah, there's the body of the person I'm seeing standing at the foot of the casket. Grandma was holding my hand. I wasn't afraid at all. What scared me is, again, years ago, they had these thing called wailers that would come to the homes or to the funeral parlor. These people were scary. They had all black clothes on and they had black veils over their heads, and they wore, anybody that went to Catholic school with nuns, the nun shoes, those black high heel tie shoes, that's what they wore. Oh, I could just so clear. And oh my gosh, they would stand in the back of the room and wail and cry and carry on. They did everything but roll on the floor. That scared me. The dead person never scared me. That's why when Ghost Whisperer first starts in the beginning of every show, you see the little girl standing by the coffin with her grandmother. And that's why they put that in, because Grandma had me going to funerals when I was 4 years old. So that, but no, I was never afraid. I've never been afraid. I couldn't do this if I gave off fear, because all that would do is give them more energy. Some neighborhoods I have to go in, oh yeah, that scares me. But the ghost, no, never.
The living people are much more scary than
Yeah,
the dead.
that's right. They can hurt me. The dead can't. So yeah.
So Cheryl has kind of like a two-parter. We'll show the first part. Says that she used to see shadows after someone around her that she would know would pass, and she was wondering why she might be seeing those shadows.
A lot of times that when somebody feels or sees shadows around them, that doesn't mean it's somebody or something bad just because they're shadowy or dark. But that is how you are seeing that energy. Now, you want to hope that these energies that you're seeing of somebody that just died is before their 48 to 72 hours is up after their last memorial service. Because when a first person first dies, they can go zooming around any place they want. They can go anybody's house. They can do anything. But as soon as that, so a lot of people will see spirits at that time before they go into the light. So that might be what you're seeing.
Okay. And another question we have here was they were wondering if you've ever seen a spirit other than the person who the funeral is for, use the light to cross over, kind of like what you say to write the like. Have you actually seen it happen?
I have. I was, oh, it's too long of a story to tell now, but I had a little run in with the funeral director at one of the funerals that I had been invited to. And there was a spirit standing next to him of a gentleman that was going to be viewed for the next day. But they have bodies waiting in line for viewing, and so he said to me, I don't have anybody. There's nobody here. I don't even know why they dressed me in a suit. Do I have to stay? I says, no. I says, go use Clyde's light over in room number 2. I says, just walk into that light and you'll be where you need to be. And then it dawned on me, I didn't see any white light around him. I says, wait a minute, you're being viewed tomorrow? And he said, wait, maybe I'm confused. He said, no, maybe I was already viewed. I says, what? Where's the white light? He said, I don't know, it disappeared. So he did lose his light. He went into Clyde's room and just used the white light around Clyde and went into it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good thing he was already kind of where he needed to be and just had to.
That's right. Didn't end up in somebody's house, right?
Yeah. Swifty says that they have sea salt water in a spray bottle, but not sure how to use it. Like, so how and why would you use sea salt water?
Okay. Okay. A lot of times, people that work at jobs that have a tendency to have a lot of spirits, earthbound spirits, if you're not carrying a quinseed on you to protect yourself, I'll tell people to put some sea salt in a spray bottle and shake it up really good. And on your way out the door, sort of mist the air and walk through it. And a lot of times that'll put a little coating around you, and it's not as good as the quinseed, but it absolutely will keep something, maybe 75, 80% away from you. The same thing if you miss the inside of the car so nobody comes home with you. Another good thing that you can do is if you work at some place like this, let's say law enforcement or firemen or paramedics or people that work in antique stores, sometimes when you wash your clothes, when you put your rinse in at the end, throw a good amount of sea salt in that, and that's just water softener. So it's actually in your clothes, and that will help also. So that's a little refresher course on that.
Okay, well, that's kind of well between my house and the store. I think I'm pretty good. They're both warded by Marianne.
I was going to say, you're all covered. I think
Right.
you're good. Yeah.
Annie Grace said that they had an encounter a few days ago. Joey, I'm going to assume that's maybe son, went upstairs and walked into the bedroom, and all of a sudden the crown molding on top of the door ripped off and hit him on the back, and the nail scratched his back. My first question, as the non-ghost seer, would be, did that door always stick, and did that molding finally come off? But, have you heard of ghosts kind of being that physical?
Yes, I have. And in this case, this is a house that I have done work at, and the house is totally secure. We just, through conversations, telephone conversations, we just found a way of a place where there is no quinseed. So even though the house is 99% covered, this one place is not. And I think that this ghost that's in that house is a little angry that it can't come and go the way it wants to.
Mm.
And if I remember correctly, that happened right around not this full moon, but the last full moon. And the week working up to a full moon or on a day of a new moon, ghosts have a whole lot more energy then. And so, yeah, definitely. That's the time when you're going to hear cupboards opening and closing and stuff being thrown around, or like somebody downstairs in the basement kicking the side of the furnace where it makes these loud boom noises, or
Hmm.
banging on the outside of the house if you have seeds up trying to get your attention. So, yeah, and again, they're very aware that the nails that were in the board are what scratched Joey, not them swinging that piece of wood at them. The other thing too is that if somebody has a portal in a house, you have to remember earthbound spirits that come out of a portal are not nice, and they can do some physical damage as far as leaving bruises or pulling hair or that kind of thing. So there could be some that have attitude and they get a little, feisty. So
Feisty. Well, and when you came out and did my house, you had mentioned that there was a lady that would come and go all through town, a little gossiper. And after the seats were up, and this was summertime or late summer, so the windows in the den were open, and that's where my son hangs out. And it was either that, is it no, because he was still anyway. He was in there, and I'm in the living room, and he comes in, and he's like, "What?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You keep calling me." And I said, "No." And I go, "Where does it sound like?" He goes, "Well, from over here." And there's that window like by that doorway. And so she was on the front porch, you know, trying to call her way in. Um,
that's pretty typical when I go do a house, because I usually know if I've talked to somebody or when I've talked to them on the phone, I know if you have one in the house or two or three or however many. Say that I told you that there were three in the house, and when I come out, there's only two there.
mhm,
So the one is not there. And I don't know how to call a ghost, so I can't call him back.
right.
But once the house is protected and the seeds are up, the next time that person tries to come back, they can be out there kicking on doors, and they can really make a fuss out there, pull gutters off, bash all kinds of things, and they can get, but they don't do it very, maybe once or twice, because that takes a lot of energy, and it's not like there's not other houses they can go to.
Yeah, I don't think we've had it happen, again, but it was close to when they went up, and
Right.
so I can vouch for them trying, knocking,
Trying.
screwing in. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can open the door and look to see who's there and stand this close to them, and if that seat is on the door they can't come in. But you just, and dogs will go off. I mean, they hear it. Dogs will race to the door and see who's banging there, and nobody there.
So Deanna, and it's a little two-parter. When her daughter left for college 2 years ago, she developed ongoing health problems, pneumonia twice and strep throat in 4 months. Came home after her first semester, and the problems continued. Doctors haven't been able to find out why she keeps getting sick. So she needs to come home with her and like give you a call, see if there's anything attached to her. Um,
Okay.
dorm center are full of them, right?
College campuses are absolutely full of earthbound spirits. And unfortunately, the age group of the earthbound spirits that are on these campuses are usually somewhere between 17 and 25. Just the age that most kids on campus are. And having a daughter, you never know what kind of an earthbound pervert is watching her or around her. And they're invisible. How would anybody know if you don't see them? So everything that you've described with her health and everything, absolutely, the ghost could be doing, or more than one. There's a couple things that you can do. I don't know if she's back in school now with the virus or not, but she can call me from when she is in her dorm room or wherever it is she's living. We can see what's going on there. Or the next time she's home, call me from the house when she is home, and I will be able to determine what's in your house, and I won't be able to talk to whoever it is, but I can tell if it's a younger person or an older person. And all he's doing is probably, whoa, what was that hard pitch noise? All he's doing is following her back and forth from school, which
Mhm.
is typical. So it's funny when I do houses and they have kids ready to go off to college, I'll make sure that I give them extra quince seeds so that when the kids get to college, they call me from whatever room they're in. And if the room is clear, they can put their seeds up in their room. They can only do the room that they are assigned. They can't do the whole building.
Right.
But they can do that room that they're assigned to. And I don't, normally windows do not get seeds, only doors that go directly to the outside. But if a kid is in a dorm room on the first, second, or the third floor, we do put seeds on those windows because college kids use their windows as doors if they're on the first, second, or third floor. So we go ahead and, I learn more stuff every year. So.
Well, rather than going out and walking down a hallway, then out a door.
Right, exactly right. Just easier, I guess, when you're alive to just jump out a window.
Especially if you're late for class.
Hmm.
So I can't show this question on the screen because it's on one of the other feeds, but Melissa Thomas had a question, and I know her personally. She does construction work, road crew, and seems to be having issues with tires flattening and maybe even other ruckus going on, like in the back of the truck. So I'm assuming they can cause issues not just inside houses, obviously, but
Oh no, places of work, absolutely. And I don't know why it's so easy for an earthbound spirit to mess with a vehicle, but and I have to admit, it's mostly men spirits that do this, but they mess with that stuff when they're alive. They're going to mess with it when they're dead,
Mhm.
and they'll loosen those things that hold the tires on, lug nuts. They will battery cables, uh, nails. They can't actually put the nail in a tire, but if they put it on the outside where you don't see it, you drive over it. So they put it there, but they didn't stick it in the tire. But no, absolutely, they can mess with all that. And they will mess with anything electrical. And unfortunately, almost all the vehicles now are computerized. So it's so easy for them to, where you're service when you don't need it. And they could mess with all of that stuff. When they were building South Park Mall many, many years ago, there was a reason, but they actually had to move an old cemetery
Mm,
where that mall is. And that upset, for some reason, it didn't upset anybody that was alive, but it did upset some people that had been buried there. And so a lot of times that mall, I would hear from people, construction people that were in that mall, they'd be working on something, put the hammer down, reach back to get it, and the hammer was gone. Or they would hear, like happened at your house, Melissa, where somebody's calling, hey, Pete, come here, go down there, and yeah, what do you need? I don't know, I didn't call you. That happened so much when that mall was being built. You have no idea. And there was a lot of places in there when that mall opened up. I believe it was either Penny's or Sears. I'm not sure which one, but one of them, and I don't think either one of them are there anymore, but one of them, once they opened up, the whole place smelled like a sewer. They could never find what was wrong. I did. That guy did not want anybody on that property.
mm.
So yeah, they can definitely mess with anything like that. Absolutely. I had one that put stones inside. Oh, that was a woman that did that. She put stones in the gas tank.
Well, that gentleman that you booted out of my house, me and the ex, we both had Avengers, a couple of years apart, so pretty much the same car. And 3, 4 times a week, I'd go to start the car, and the check engine light would come on, and the gas cap was always loosened, or the plugs would be, and it was only ever my car, never the one that the ex drove. It was only mine, and like, I know I'm not fucking crazy. Like, it's latch, so
Right, right.
I
And
might gas click click, like it's in there, and then the next morning gas cap loose, and I'm like, no,
how
it's
could
not.
that happen? No, 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 no.
Yeah.
And look at the energy that you put out trying to figure out who's doing it, why are they doing it, leave me alone. It makes
Mhm.
you angry. It
Yeah.
really does. And again, they just do it for the
For
energy
shits
that,
and giggles. Yeah.
right, that's all they do it for. Exactly right.
All right. So Robin says she had an interesting experience a couple weeks ago, was in her bathroom getting ready for bed and heard a conversation going on. It didn't last very long, but she found it kind of intriguing.
Now, I don't know, did she hear it in the bathroom or was she in the bathroom and heard it outside the bathroom?
Uh,
That's
yeah.
very, very typical. You could a lot of times, and it's mostly older people. I'm talking about definitely, the retired group, the very older people. They hear talking all the time, and they describe it as they can't understand the words, but it sounds like a beehive. They could just hear like somebody talking, but it's not clear, and that's actually pretty typical. Um, just don't ever make the mistake of saying who's out there and what do you want and tell me something, because all you're doing is giving them more energy. So anytime you hear anything like that, you're really better off ignoring it. And that's when I would tell you start smudging, because you don't need them in the house. You certainly do not.
Right. Yeah. That's not a good time. Because of course they affect your health while they're in your house. Because I do have customers that will come in and they think they're being helpful by letting them stay. Like, oh, I don't mind, they're not hurting anything, and they do cause problems, and they hurt your health by being there.
They're a total energy drain, whether they want to be or not. Now, some of them are intentional when they do it, but if it's just a nice, sweet old lady and she just likes sitting around watching your kids play and she's really not touching your stuff, but she is still an energy drain, and it's going to affect the kids, ear, nose, throat, and upper respiratory problems. If you are taking any kind of prescription meds, when you've got an earthbound spirit in the house, your meds are not working like they should. And again, that may not be intentional, but just because of that's what they are, it's happening. And the ones that have crossed over, they can come and go. They don't do nothing. Nothing at all. It's just the earthbound ones that cause the problems.
Right. So there was a question, and I'm scrolling because they're kind of coming quick now. Rhonda, where are the ghosts getting the extra energy at the new and full moons?
From that phase of the moon, like the new moon was, or scratch, I keep calling yesterday the new moon. I even made a mistake about that. Yesterday was a full moon. Of course, it peaked here in our time zone, like at 1:10 or 1:30 a.m. But starting the week before on Tuesday, that phase of the moon gives anybody that's earthbound more energy. And I do not know why. All I know it does. So on Tuesday last week, they got a little more active. Wednesday, more active. Thursday, all the way up until when it peaked yesterday. And then it quiets down. Now the new moon, it'll start the day of the new moon, and it only lasts that day and the next day. But those are two times that they really do have more energy because of those phases. And if they're an eclipse, lunar or solar,
Mm-hmm.
it's ghost on steroids. That even gives them more energy. So that's why I always try to point that out on anything, the newsletter that comes out on Facebook, anything. Try to have it in there that this is an eclipse. Be aware of it.
Whoops. All right. A lot of comments back and forth amongst people. Um, and there's a lot. Yeah, Lisa Malloy was saying how she read like how they moved the bodies for that mall, not just the tombstones. And but that would still, you know, if they're earthbound, why they would care
You
and be.
know, earthbound spirits do, and again, we're coming up to this time. Halloween is here, fall is, it's September, where they start doing these tours of cemeteries. Everybody in the cemetery is dead. Who's a ghost going to get energy from? Nobody. So I'm not saying that a ghost doesn't swoop through sometimes and see if somebody's taking care of their headstone and what the place looks like. But ghosts do not hang out in cemeteries. Cemeteries are for the living, where we're supposed to go to feel better, not where there's any activity. So I don't know what these guys are finding in cemeteries. I have no idea. So I hate to speculate what they're finding.
So Annie Grace, we have had someone at the farm that keeps talking to us and screaming. No one is there. Sometimes we see a shadow and sometimes a guy in a t-shirt.
Okay, and again, I have not been at this farm that they have. I have been at the other farm. They rescue animals, and this is the kind of farm they have. And they had trouble at the other farm too. It's very, very stressful being, well, in any business, it can be stressful, but this type of thing where you're watching so many animals that could be sick or trying to save them, or a lot of times animals that you've gotten from a bad situation are hard to handle. Look at the energy. Look at the people working. And there's no doubt in my mind that there's not stuff happening there too. And if it could, if somebody can scream at you, and again, that happened this week working up to this full moon. And so absolutely that could happen. There was a farm out in, oh, it doesn't make any difference. It was a huge farm, horse farm. And the couple ghosts that were there, apparently had been a farm that grew veggies and wheat and that kind of stuff. So when these people made it and turned it into this big, huge horse farm, these couple guys that were ghosts there were not happy about it. And she kept finding pieces of barbed wire, maybe 3 and 4 feet long, that were just sort of like coiled up and thrown all over in these pastures. And it hurt some of the horses. So, I
Mhm.
don't like when people mess with kids or animals. It makes me crazy. It's like you don't like them, go someplace else. But they can, you can have a dog that is in your fenced in yard, and especially older ghosts in houses, more women than men. The cats belong outside to catch the mice, and the dogs belong outside to tell you when somebody's coming. And they don't appreciate animals in the house. They're like our kids now, but we don't. They didn't know. They didn't do that. They didn't appreciate it. It's not unusual for once you let the dog out, they open the gate up and the dog runs out in the street and gets killed. And they can do that. So you have to just be aware of your surroundings.
All right. So Danielle Lynn says she just got your book yesterday. Can't put it down. I'm assuming maybe it's the Ghost Speak book, When Ghosts Speak. And that's the one that we sell the most of, you know.
Yes. And Melissa has all my books at the Goddess Elite. And anything I'm talking about, Smudge Stick, she's got them there also. Um, the problem with this, and I have to laugh because on YouTube tonight at 5:30, there is one of the, because I taped that yesterday, so there were one of the letters that had 5 questions, that every one of those questions were in When Ghosts Speak, the answers to those. She said, I loved your book, and I read it, but now I have these questions. Sit down and reread it. You read it too fast. You missed half of it. And that's what happens. They read it, they can't put it down, and they read it too fast, and they miss a lot of it. But thank you. I appreciate it. That was a lot of people like that book. It's good information.
So we have Tiana, I'm sorry, and she may want to give you a call. Hopefully she's local. Her son is severely speech delayed, complains that there's a bad man at his door in his room. And he ran into her room one night screaming that he bite. And sure enough, he had bite marks on his back. And it was just herself, her husband, and her son home. And I know you do not tolerate kids having issues.
No, definitely call. I can't tell from this, but I believe children. If something bit him, or scratched him enough where it looks like that. And the other thing, too, is to keep this in mind. There could be ghost animals. And I wonder, if that's something that left the mark on him. But until you decide to call or do one of two things, either have the house blessed by an ordained priest or minister and see if that doesn't help a little bit. Do not throw holy water around. That'll just make them angry. Or start smudging. When you've got kids in the house, smudge. You may want to do it when the kids are at home, especially 5 or under. But I would definitely start smudging. You don't want anybody messing with your children. No, you can't do that.
Awesome. Whoop, they're jumping so fast. Okay, now I found her to take her down. Let's see. There was a question. Aha, here we go. Paula saw an orb that appeared as red.
Orbs can be any color. They can be white. They can be blue, pink. They can be sparkly. They can be any color. That does not make any difference. As long as they are perfectly round circles, they can be any color. Now, I don't know if you can tell from this, but this orb has got a design in the middle. When you have an orb with a design in the middle and you've taken it on something digital, enlarge it and see if you don't see a side profile or a face of who it could be. Orbs that have designs in the middle are spirits that have crossed over and are visiting. All orbs are good. There is never a bad orb. If the orb has nothing in the middle of it, it's just a dust particle. So orbs are good. I know some of the Ghostbusters that are on TV say your house is horribly haunted if you have orbs. The old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So just take that for what it's worth.
All right. Rhonda would like to know if the seeds will protect animals.
Well, yeah, the seeds will protect animals, not just from ghost animals, but from humans too that don't like animals. It will keep an earthbound spirit or an earthbound spirit of an animal 3.5, 4 feet away from them. And I tell people, if I come to a house and all the ghosts are there that I saw on the phone, we're not going to worry about it. But if what happened like at Melissa's house, when I got there, one was missing. And if that was the ghost that had been mean to your animals, your house is going to be totally protected. But when the dog goes out, the dog is not. So definitely have something on the dog's collar so that something would stay away from it. But yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Angie Marie, can you explain how the seeds work? She bought one at one of the events and tells people about them, but she has a hard time explaining how or why they work.
A quince is a cross between a pear and an apple. So the seed looks like either a pear seed or an apple seed, they look identical. And so that's exactly what the quince seed looks like. I get these seeds from relatives in Italy. They do some kind of energy work with them. I do not know what they do. Um, I've never been to Italy because I'm afraid if I got there, they'd never let me leave. So I have no desire to go there and get trapped there, not from the virus, but from my relatives. And Grandma told me about these years. I was a teenager when she told me about these. And as long as this quinseed is where it's supposed to be, your house is totally protected. I never get called out a second time. And Melissa, I mean, how long ago did we put the seeds up at the store and at your house? It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And once they're there, they just work 100%. When you are out of the house and you have a quinseed on you, it will keep anything earthbound 3.5, 4 feet away from you. It will not be able to get close to you. The other good thing about a quinseed is if you wear a quinseed, nobody can ever put negative energy on you. So people that believe in curses, and unless there's a question, we won't go there. Um, you never have to have, nobody can ever do that to you again if you have a quinseed on you.
Awesome. Yeah, I wear one, and I've got the cute little ghost. And as soon as I get the link to work, we'll post a link in chat to your website so people can buy seeds if they
Oh,
like,
okay.
because you have little ones that would fit on animal collars.
Yeah, they're just little ones, little tiny ones, and you can just, they are the least expensive out of all of them, which would be fine for an animal. With I do your house, I give you seeds to put like with duct tape or masking tape on a collar. But if I haven't done your house, you have to get them off the website. And yeah, just get the smallest one and tape it on the dog's collar.
Karen, um, so she's got quinceads on every door from years ago. Um, her sister committed suicide 5 months ago. Can her sister still come and visit?
If your sister crossed over, she can. If she did not cross over, she cannot. Now, if there was somebody that she really loved or missed when she died, you want to hope that whoever she saw in the white light talked her into going. Because a lot of people sometimes are leery about going into the white light if they committed suicide. Especially if you're Catholic. Of course, the church has changed that now, and you're mentally ill, so it's not okay, but they don't condemn you for it now. So I don't know. I think I would probably, it wouldn't work on your house because the seeds are up, but keep a watch. Usually, anybody that's crossed over, you will dream of. It'll usually take at least 6 months to have the first dream, but somebody that died violently, and unfortunately, a suicide is considered a violent death. Sometimes it can take up to 2 years before somebody will come in a dream. But that, or have somebody that's another relative that does not have the seeds, call me and let's see if I see your sister in that house, then we know she did not cross over. But that would be the only way. If she did not cross over, no, she is not getting in your house because your house is protected. And you can't take a seat down and say, I only want my sister to come in. Why would anybody listen to that? So just, you know what it was like before the seeds were up, you know the difference. It's a huge difference. So
Mm.
think about that.
So the next question again with seeds. She has a sea charm on her neck and was wondering if it only keeps earthbound away, or will it affect her guides and crossed over friends and family? Can they still come
It
around?
right. It only affects earthbound spirits. It doesn't affect your guardian angel, your spirit guides, anybody that crossed over. Doesn't affect any of those at all. It only affects earthbound spirits and negative energy. So no, you're fine. They can still come in and out. You'll still have your crowd of spirit guides around you without a problem.
Right. Yeah, I mean, God, I've probably had mine on for,
A long time now.
yeah, and it hasn't caused, any issues. And, in the work that I do with all the practitioners that I have, and it's never caused a
Well,
problem.
it's funny, at your store, I can be in your store looking at something or walk in from our vehicle and look around your parking lot, and I can actually see ghosts sitting in the cars waiting for their owners to come out because they can't get in your store. Which is okay. You only need those the live ones in. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. They can have all the ghost parties outside in the parking lot that they want.
That's right.
The humans are invited, but they can't come in.
Right. Right.
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. I did put a link in the chat, but Marianne, you have one of your Zoom events coming up on the 11th at 7:30. And so these Zoom events, like, why would somebody would want to join in on one of the Zoom events?
Well, the Zoom events, interactive, I can see in your house or where you think there might be a problem. I can see where they're at, what they look like. I cannot talk to them. However, if the right questions are asked, I can see somebody shake their head yes or no. So I can get some answers, not real good ones, but some answers. Sometimes I see a thumb up, a thumb down if a question is asked, but at least you'll know if you think something is there, then at least you'll have an answer one way or the other. Um, it doesn't exactly, I'm running probably 8 to 10 weeks behind on calling people back. And so if you want to know faster than that, at least that's one way to do it. That's not saying it's going to put you totally at the top of the list if you do that. But if you've got kids that are being messed with or an animal that are being messed with, yeah, pretty much. You'll go closer to the top because, again, that's what makes me crazy. So, but they're fun. And I think people have learned a lot of stuff from them too. And I just wish that I wish that we could do them once a week again, but until they're filled, it's just, 10, 12 people a week isn't, I need to have them filled. So,
Right.
but we'll do it if it demands it. If the one a month starts filling, we'll open up another one. That's the way we'll work it.
Definitely. Um, yeah, so somebody who attended the Zoom event can say how well, they liked it. Really awesome. And they're fun. And I still love the fact that, the whole using the blow dryer for
Oh
smoke
yeah.
in a place where you can't get. Like, we have creativity that happens on these Zooms too.
And some people have really good ideas sometimes. They
Yeah.
really do.
I still was thinking about the fog machine and, smoking out the place that way.
Well, it'd be a lot faster, I guess, than walking around in room to room. Just
Right.
open up the door and open the closet door and blow it in there. That'll take
And
care of it.
let's talk about that real quick. I see a lot of posts online, and I'm sure some of our attendees will see this. I see these little memes that will talk about, not to smudge with your doors and windows closed because you're just trapping and making them mad. And when they come in and they say that, and I say, no, you leave everything closed for while you're doing this and for an hour or two, then you open up, and they go, well, I saw online. And I'm like, well, if it's the smoke doing the work and it goes right out your window, so I mean, if you want to explain that better, for people.
Right. And everybody's got an opinion about something. And all I know is what works for me.
Mhm.
And the way it works for me is that you keep everything closed up for 2 hours until you're totally done. You want all the smoke to penetrate everywhere in the house, inside every closet, in crawl spaces, in attics, attached garages. You
Mhm.
can't forget anything because the one place you don't get the smoke is where they're going to be hiding. Now, I've heard you've got to do it with a feather, and you've got to go counterclockwise, and you have to say this certain prayer and spin after you say it. You light the stick and you walk around the perimeter of the room. You don't have to say anything. Just make sure it gets in your closets. Just make sure it gets everywhere. Don't make a federal production out of it. Just do it. But keep this in mind. It only lasts for about 2 weeks at the most. So if you've got a problem in the house, you might want to do it at least every 10 or 12 days. They do not retaliate. All that does is make them lethargic and laid back, and they cannot get the energy from you. So if you're persistent and you do it every 12 days, at least every 2 weeks, if you do it long enough, they're going to get disgusted and they're going to leave.
Mhm.
So don't don't make it complicated. With the same thing with the sea salt, I've got it in all the corners of my room. I have it okay. The smudge stick works better than that. And I don't know if you carry it, Melissa, but there's apparently a spray out, a spray smudge. It's the smoke that does it, not squirting the air with freshener. That isn't going to do it. You
Well,
need the
spray goes
smoke.
out and then down, so it's not permeate, and I'm like, that's if like you have a small space like a car or,
Oh, maybe, yeah, but not a full house. That's just not going to work. And unfortunately, if you've got a big house, it's a commitment.
Mhm.
I mean, there was a lady on Zoom that said, what, her house was 6,000 square feet. That was going to take at least 4 smudge sticks and probably a good 2.5, 3 hours to do.
That's where you call friends and have wine and
Do it together. That's exactly right. So, no, you just, and again, smudge sticks are on my website. They're on Melissa's also. I like sage or sweetgrass, but it can be a combination. Sage, I think, is the most important part of it. So, but I think, and people are afraid that they're going to do something wrong. You may not do anything right, or you may not get it all in the right places, but you really can't do anything wrong. They won't stay lit. If you've got a lot of negative, or if you've got negative energy in the house, or a lot of earthbound spirits, when you light it and you blow it out, a lot of times it won't continue to smoke. So what you do is tap it on the side of whatever you're holding to catch the ash so that your carpets don't start fire. You wouldn't think I'd have to say that, but I do. And stop where you are, relight it, get it burning good, blow it out, and continue. Keep doing it. If it burns out, do it again. If it goes out, do it again. The more times you do it, the longer it will stay lit
Mhm.
because it's getting rid of what's there. So just have patience, and if you do it, you will see a difference. It's not going to make anything worse.
All right. Rhonda was wondering if the AC and come wintertime, the heating, should that be turned off during the smudge?
No, not at all. That can stay on. I mean, and like Melissa and I were talking, you need to get smoke in an attic too. And we came up with this hair dryer because some of them you have to take the top off in an attic. So if you put the smudge stick there and just blow the smoke up into the attic, get creative. Just just get it everywhere it's supposed to get.
Mm-hmm. All right. And a little quick reminder about removing pets or anybody who has breathing issues like asthma, things like that.
Please, and it's not for babies. I mean, I wouldn't really, 5 years and under, I send them to grandma's for a couple hours. I wouldn't do that. Birds are especially, pet birds are especially susceptible to that smoke. So you want to be careful with that. And usually, if your animals, your cats, your dogs are healthy, they'll be fine. But if you've got an older pet, common sense. If you even thought, gee, I wonder if it's going to be too much for the dog, then it probably is going to be too much. So you use common sense.
Right. Okay, well, I think we went through all of the questions, and we do have in chat Marianne's website to order seeds if you like, and there's a link for the evening Zoom. So with that, Marianne, if there was anything else you'd like to say, I think we're kind of at the end because it's 10:59, almost like perfect on the dot.
Timing, good,
Right?
yeah, good timing. No, and again, we'll do this next Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. I know that we're just barely getting in. It's like 7 o'clock a.m. in California, which is a little early for them, but it's recorded. And so if if you want to see the whole thing, just have to go back and look at it. And it's on the same page. I think you go to the same page where my YouTube stuff is at. You can find it there
Yeah, it
to re-look at them. Right.
should be under the live, and the last one we did last week would be there too, so they can go back and watch that one.
Right.
Because like one of your fans from Saudi just joined on, so avid fan and subscriber there.
That's great. I just get so surprised when I see Germany and Australia, New Zealand. I I don't know how this gets everywhere, but people are obviously seeing it. Of course, I have to admit, when Go Speak is in like 16 different languages, so the book is everywhere. Doesn't look like my book, and they call it different things like Ghosts Are Here. It's amazing the titles they come up with, but it's basically my book. So I guess if people are looking, they're going to find it.
Yeah. And again, anybody from anywhere can go back and watch the recording, and you can also join on Zoom. Just keep in mind the time difference, because it would be 7:30 Eastern Time U.S. That we would be doing it. But anybody from anywhere can join. Marianne can see the ghost across the big pond as long as your camera's on in your house.
I can. And I think Melissa and I have to talk, but I think we're going to try doing, we always did one around Thanksgiving in the store. We usually did some kind of an event where you can come in, not so much where I would speak, but just with all the stuff for gifts and stuff. So we'll have to come up with a date for that too, because I would like to do that too at some point. With no events now, I'm out of my mind, and I'm not going to that many houses yet. I'm still a little leery. So, but if we can do this, if we do safe distancing, we can definitely do something at the Goddess Elite, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. All right. So with that, a little after 11 now. So we'll do this again. What, next week? Same time, same channel.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for everybody coming on. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day, guys. And Marianne, you'll have your video hitting tonight around what, 5?
5:30. It comes on every Wednesday, 5:30. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll hopefully see you guys next week at the same time, 10 a.m.
Thank you.